Morning YouTube and the internet. Welcome to my new shed. So this thing's still not running and we're going to work on testing. We're going to do a leak down test on it today, but I thought I'd give you a quick guided tour. This is the left side of the garage. That is the right side of the garage. Tour finished. Oh, there's the back. That's it. But it's much better than the old place. Got lots of headroom and we're good to go. So real quick, the last video I said, it's got low compression. What I'm hoping it is that because I'd left the lifters soaking in oil for so long, they over pumped when I was trying to start the car, and it's just holding the valves open ever so slightly. The compression numbers were 65 psi, dead even across the board. If it's not that, I don't know what it is. Other things it could be, if I managed to install every ring incorrectly but exactly the same incorrectly to allow the exact same compression on every cylinder. It could be the head gasket isn't seated. I've somehow installed the head incorrectly. Again, wouldn't expect that to be the same all the way across the board, and I wouldn't expect to even get 65 psi if the deck was lifted. So the only thing that makes sense to me is the lifter problem. What we're going to do is we'll do a leak down test, and that'll tell me where the air's escaping. And if it's all coming out of one side or the other, or both, the next step will be to repeat the test with the cams out. By taking the cams out, we relieve the pressure on the lifters and therefore the valves, and then we'll know for sure. If it then seals, I'll know that I've just got to disassemble the lifters, bleed them again, and then put them back in. Hopefully that is the problem, because that's the easy solution. Anything else requires minimum head off, best case, and worst case engine out, start again. So let's hope I'm right. So this is a leak down test kit. You've got a differential pressure gauge, a couple of fittings to fit spark plugs, and that's about it. You need compressed air, which we've got over there. Simply we put air into this. We control how much air by using this gauge, this knob. We'll go with 100 psi, and what this will do normally is indicate what percentage of leak you have. So you'll see on here it's got moderate, low, set, high. So you're looking for leak downs in this sort of area here normally. I'm not going to get that. I know the air's going to go away. So this part of the test is kind of obsolete for me in this case, but I figured I'd buy the kit anyway, because I will need it in future things. I'm going to need it on the 300ZX to tell me which bank is blowing the head gasket, or both, or maybe I'm wrong. That'll help me diagnose that. So we just need to get this over here. Basically all I'm using it as a diagnostic tool for this is to tell me where the air is going, and I'll just be able to listen to where the air is going. I'll just take this off. The exhaust is not fully plumbed in. There is the two. No, it is, because the wastegates will be shut. Anyway, I should be able to hear. I should be able to determine which way the air is escaping with a continuous feed of air at 100 psi. You right? All good. So let's get the air over here and we'll get started. So because I'm an idiot and I didn't check, I can't do this test because this fitting is different to the air fitting that I have and all my fittings that I have for air hoses. So that's a thing. I'm going to have to go to a shop tomorrow, I think, and buy an adapter to go from the standard hose fitting I have to this. Most disappointing. So the fitting on the end of the block is the same as this, so I'll take this with me and see what I can find. New plan. I've got this. I made this about 4 years ago for exactly the same reason. I remembered having a leak down test kit and the fittings weren't right, and I used this to adapt it. Now what I can do with this goes into straight into the hole for the spark plug. This goes straight into an air fitting. It is effectively this part, just without the flexible rubber hose. Yeah, so this is the bit that I need. It won't work. Now I do have a spare fitting that will work, so I could replace the fitting on that pressure differential block. But it's pretty hard. I am fearful of breaking it. It's a brand new tool, so it was very tight, and I decided to not do that. So I'm going to have a go with this. All I need to know is where the air is going. I don't need to know the drop, because I know it's going to be close to 100%. So this will work. This is a series of different fittings to get from that to that that I bought. I mean, I bought these fittings years ago for exactly this, and I bought a lot more than just this, but I managed to make this work. And it did work last time. The only thing I had to do is on the other kit is I took the O-ring off for the seal, so I'll pop the O-ring off this, put it on that, and we should be good to go. So I've done a bit of lighting mods so I can see. So for this test, first thing I have to do is bring cylinder 1 to top dead center. Now we do have the timing marks to help with that, but we're not going to be able to do the others like that, so pop a screwdriver in there. It'll also help to double check what I'm doing. 32 mm socket, short extension, can't see down there, but into the harmonic balancer on the main bolt, rotate the engine. No, that extension's not short enough, so socket straight on the ratchet. Of course I'm standing in the light. The 32? Smaller than 32. I thought it was 32. Maybe it's 28. 27. Cas is disconnected as a precaution, so I'm expecting to be right there. I'm looking at something here which is alarming. I mean, it's not very far out, but it looks like the timing might be out on the timing marks. Now this has been checked 3 or 4 times based on, you can't see me, based on the timing mark, firstly on the crank pulley, and then on the harmonic balancer, which you can't see either, just down there, and then referenced against the timing light, and it all lined up. But if you look down here, that could be a smidgen past, as could that one. It's not a whole tooth though. It's definitely not a whole tooth. Maybe I've done that wrong. I mean, anything's on the table at the moment. I suppose that's one of the options if the timing's out, but yeah, it was checked many times, but something's wrong, and it's something I've done that's wrong, so I have to keep that open as an option as well. Nah, that's right. It's within the play of the belt, so the screwdriver doesn't move at all when I wind it back, and the marks are now spot on. So it's the movement you're doing is tiny compared to the relative stroke of the piston. So let's get some air down there. So got my little fitting in there. We're at top dead center. We're going to put this on. The air's going to come straight away. 100 psi. I can hear it. Nothing coming out of there. Actually, the only sound I can hear is the compressor. So, what the frig is going on? You can see the timing markers are spot on now. I just didn't have it right before. I don't hear any air. I can smell ethanol. Fuck. So the other thing you want to check is for air coming out the radiator. I'll put that back on. We've got nothing. No bubbles. And the only sound of air movement is coming from there. Not from the car, not from the engine, not from the exhaust, not from the intake, which makes this the most confusing problem ever. That's a good thing as far as the mechanical assembly of the engine is concerned. It's a bad thing as far as figuring out why it won't start is concerned. Figuring out why it won't start is probably less expensive than building the engine again though. So, good news, bad news. Let's do all 6 and see what happens. So all I'm going to do is repeat that process. I'll do 6 now because it's also at top dead center. 2 and 5, 3 and 4. And if I get a result positive in any direction, I'll let you know, but I would expect them all to be the same, with the compression being the same on every cylinder. Interesting. Okay, I know you can't see the fitting, but trust me, it's in there. Oh, hello. That's coming out the intake. So now let's just finish. I might get a few seconds. If you listen, you'll hear the air rushing out the plenum there. Yep. That's what that sound is. So why is it number 6 doesn't leak when I have the same compression? So there is definitely something seriously wrong there. Just try that again and I'll look in the radiator. Nothing there. So we've definitely got a depressed valve. That's depressing. Okay, so that is enough of a test for me to confirm that I'm partially right. Why number 1 doesn't do it, I don't know. It had the same compression. It's very strange, but basically I'll pull the covers off, pull the cams out, repeat the test. It doesn't matter that I've only got the positive result on 1 cylinder. If I got it on 1, I've got to do the test. I've got to do this anyway, so I don't need to know if the rest are going to do the same. If one of them does it, the job is the same for the next step. So basically take the covers off, pull the cams out, repeat the test, and then if they all seal without the cams in, the valves are being depressed by the hydraulic lifter where they shouldn't be. Bleed them, reassemble the head, repeat the test, and hopefully it goes away. If it doesn't go away at that point, I've got a bigger problem. But good news is nothing was coming out the radiator, so it's not a gasket leak. It's not going down past the cylinders, so it's not pistons, it's not rings. It's definitely valve train related, or at least a very large chunk of it is valve train related. So it's looking like I might be right, which is a good thing. I like being right. I know it happens a lot, but you know, I still enjoy it. Yeah, and being wrong in this case would have meant a lot of time and money, so probably. So I'm going to pack it up there. That's going to do me for tonight. My dinner will be ready soon. So, yeah. Happy days and not so happy days, but I was already in a position where I couldn't start the thing, so, and I knew I had to do stuff. I've already gotten over that mental hurdle. Now, just quickly, the video that I put up last time didn't really go through all the problems that I had when I was trying to start it for the first time. So I'll run through that now. The first problem came across was the radiator was leaking. This is a factory radiator I bought for 50 bucks and got it delivered from another YouTuber actually, and I can't remember which one it was. One of the local guys around Brisbane. So I replaced that. You saw on the video this fuel hose pissed out, so I replaced that one. I manufactured a new one. It's a temporary hose. I need to replace that one as well, but I had what I had and I had to try and get it going. And then, so once I fixed that one, I went to pressurize the fuel system again, and the back one pissed out fuel. So I replaced that one then, made another new hose. And when I put the jumper pack on to start it, wouldn't start, but I wasn't getting fuel. There was no injector tick. So unplug, take the CAS out, plug it back in and spin it with your fingers, and you'll hear the injector tick and the coils firing. There was no tick for the injector, and it took ages trying to troubleshoot that. And what it was a low voltage. It was because of all the other stuff I'd done with the jump pack on. The jump pack had more than enough to turn it over, but there's a minimum voltage requirement when you're turning over for the injectors to even fire. Something like 9.7 volts or something like that. It's written down somewhere in SAU forums, you'll find it. That was like 1 o'clock in the morning when I found that. So I jumped it with something else and got the injector tick, but packed it up that night. And then I tried it again the next morning, and I confirmed I had, when I had more power sent to it, the injectors were firing, and I had spark, and ultimately that's when it wouldn't start because of the compression. But that was a 2.5 day exercise, and I'm talking 2 a.m. mornings, 2-3 o'clock in the morning, finishing up, trying to get this thing going, because I had the deadline for the tuner to compete at JapNats. That's all gone. It's the first time in 6 or 7 years I haven't competed at JapNats, so that was devastating. Those who've watched the channel for a long time will know why that's devastating, especially with this car. There's a very specific reason. But yeah, and because I had the moving house deadline as well at the same time, which meant I couldn't do anything about it. House moving deadline was fixed, absolutely immovable, could not do a thing about that. So new house is in the flight path and next to the train station. Oh, the other issue I had is there were some dodgy earths as well, which I spent a lot of time chasing down the earths. I had a couple of the earths in the wrong locations and they just weren't clean. So whilst there's an earth up under there that wasn't right, so that took some finding and fixing, reaching in there and cleaning an earth and all that. I was very close to pulling the plenum off altogether to get access, but in the end I got it, and I got the earthing good across everything. So that was another issue. So I had a lot of problems to solve, and a lot of it's my own fault while I was a little bit hamstrung by the supply of the seals kit for final assembly, and there was one of the head components I had to wait for before I could even assemble the head, which is why the engine was wrapped up. It was all assembled, the bottom end, even the main bolts, but I had to replace the main bolts because they all come with the last delivery. There were things I could have done in advance to prevent some of these issues. So I'm going to call it a 50-50 split between the supplier letting me down and putting the time crunch on, and me not preparing better for the stuff turning up. When it turned up, I could have had some more things completed than I did, so I put additional time pressure on myself, which is well, I thought I could deal with it, and you know what, I could have, if I'd done it right. It would have started Wednesday. It would have started Wednesday night, been loaded on the trailer Thursday night, and to the tuner on Friday morning. It was all arranged. So had I not had basically the mechanical issue that we're diagnosing now, even with all those other things, it meant working till 2-3 o'clock in the morning on the car. But had I not had, even with those, I would have met the deadline to get everything done. But I still could have made it easier on myself. I could have got a bit more sleep in that time period, and maybe it's, whatever that is just because it was a minor oversight or something I've done silly that I may not have done if I was better rested or had more time to do it. So tomorrow I'll take this off, do those steps that I was talking about, and we'll find out. But that'll be next week's video. This is just for this week. That'll do you. I am very happy. I've got the garage set up finally. I've been trying to get onto that for a while so I could do this test, because the compressor was up under the house. It's up there because there was nowhere to put it in here. I had to pull everything out of the garage and then put it all back in where it's supposed to go. Anyway, have a good time, and I'll see you next week.